because we're about to get on down to the very latest goings-on in the computer world. Get all wound up with the gearheads, speed around with Sonic, and totally immerse yourself in the latest in VR, right here on Cybernet. Okay, so you've seen the film, surfed the webpage, and even played the 16-bit game. Well, now, Disney have gone one step further and produced the Toy Story animated storybook. It's an interactive package that also tells stories, and it stars all the main characters of the movie.
And who wouldn't be impressed by a Buzz Lightyear?
The first thing you notice about this disc is the animation and colours. The graphics really are superb, and that's probably not surprising because they're computerized, just like the film.
Buzz Lightyear mission log, Stardate 4072. My ship was run off course en route to Sector 12. I crash-landed on a strange planet. The impact must have awoken me from hypersleep.
Almost every part of every screen can be interacted with. Click on anything that looks vaguely interesting and see what happens. Porker P. Ham is your host. Just select an icon and you can do a variety of things like read along, listen to the story, and he's always at hand to give you a helping hand, or trotter.
If you want to read and play in the story, click over there now.
There is an aim to all this as well. You have to help Woody and Buzz go from being enemies to friends. And if you've seen the film, you'll know this isn't as easy as it appears.
I can't show my face in that room again without Buzz.
Buzz! Buzz! I found a spaceship!
Well then, let's climb aboard.
As you can probably tell, there's loads to do, and you just never know what's going to happen.
You are not worried about what's in these presents, are you?
Me? No. Nope. No. Are you?
Now, Buzz, what could Andy possibly get that's worse than you?
Like the other Disney packages, there's lots of hidden games to find. Get a load of this 3D match and drop the aliens type game. Or if you're feeling all tidy, then put the toys back in their place.
Good job, Deputy.
Or even avoid Scud in a high-speed toy car chase.
Quick, hold on to my tail.
We did it!
Of all the animated storybooks, this is my favourite. It looks great, is loads of fun, and appeals to adults and children alike. Let's see more titles like this one. Take it away, Buzz.
Buzz, we don't have time for that now!
Oh, sorry, Sheriff.
Winning the award for silliest name for a video game is Baku Baku Animal, the latest offering from Sega for the Saturn. There's been a shortage of puzzle and strategy games for the machine, and this is a particularly good one. If you think it looks a lot like every other puzzle game, you'd be right. The actual game strategy isn't that different from the likes of Dr. Mario and Columns. Anyway, the gameplay goes something like this. It's basically an eating game, and as you can see, the tiles that fall down all contain a picture of an item of food or an animal. The aim is to keep similar foodstuffs together in rows or columns, and when you get the corresponding animal, like the panda for the bamboo or the rabbit for carrots, they'll chomp away at the squares and clear them up for you. In Baku Baku, the name of the game is strategy. Try to trigger off as many chain reactions as you can. And although this isn't very easy at first, with a bit of practice, you could soon have your monkeys clearing up those bananas very quickly. Another part of this game that puts it up there with the best is the sound. This is an area in puzzle games that's often forgotten about, but here the music and effects are a joy, if not slightly wacky. Baku Baku Animal is by far the most addictive and best-looking puzzle game we've seen for ages. Those beautifully rendered animals are great, but watch out for the lion. If you lose, he'll soon let you know about it. If you're one of those strange people who like their games to be simple, addictive, and quite a challenge, then try this. Gearheads is a war of wind-up toys, each team trying to be the first to get 21 of their fellow toys to the other side of the screen. Each toy has its own special abilities, and the bigger they are, the more winding they need. If you don't wind them enough, they won't get far, and beware, traps and obstacles lie in wait, so make sure they've got a clear run. Remember, they're not too smart. Gearheads is really a 2D game, but each of the characters are brought to life by stylish 3D animation. From the egg-laying chickens to the electro-frying robots. You can't help laughing as they try to muscle past each other or blow themselves up with a big smile on their face. Gearheads is made by a company more used to film special effects, and there's a lot more to this game than you first think. How do you get past those bulldozers? Can you get the gloved hand to pick up the enemy and then put them back where they started? And what about bonus levels where it's just one toy against another? It may only have 3 levels of difficulty and the option to choose how many toys are yours to command, but that's plenty. Gearheads is pure gameplay. No movie intros, no story, no flashy swooping virtual cameras. Not that there isn't a place for those features, but it takes something like this to make you realise that they're not always essential to make a brilliant game. Ah, football. Love it or hate it, you can't get away from it. There are more soccer games out than ever before, so we thought we'd kick them around and see which ones are really on the ball. Well, Sensible World of Soccer isn't, but a combination of speed and sheer fun put it at the top of the charts well before the newest bunch of footy games arrived.
Good job!
No, the first title that's still worth a turn is International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. Knocking the FIFA series off the top spot, this is about as much as you could expect from a 16-bit sim. Starting the trend for trick shots, commentary and realistic tackling, it gives players a good balance between simulation and what it's like to play for fun with your friends.
Good ball.
Striker was also a popular 16-bit title, but it went on to become the first footy game for the PlayStation. This is Sensible Soccer, but with 32-bit power behind every move.
It's a red card.
You can play indoors and out, but realism doesn't get a look in. There's little time to think about strategy or for trying any nice passing moves. It's kick, kick, bounce, shoot!
Goal!
Electronic Arts, those FIFA people, couldn't be off the top for long, and where there's money, there's a way. Throwing as much hardware as they could manage at the problem, FIFA 96 has given us virtual stadium technology and virtual players to go with it. The trouble with all this virtual stuff is speed. The way the players are designed to work together is great, as is the accuracy of the pitch, but smooth it isn't. This is definitely for fans who like their tactics, but don't mind some strangely animated players.
Shot by Hughes. Oh, he's put it too high.
It's still an enjoyable play, but for all its high-tech production values, FIFA 96 has a very old feel.
Oh dear, what could he be thinking of?
Actua Soccer arrived soon after FIFA, and I'd say its fancy tricks are the least interesting thing about it. Motion-captured movement is okay, but Actua has a bunch of scoring styles. It lets you pass properly and plays quite differently depending on your viewpoints.
Anderton. Anderton! Well, he did really well to get to that.
Actua has a simulation feel to it, something that console owners usually shy away from, and it has to be said it feels a bit strange on the PlayStation. But this doesn't. Power Soccer naturally claims to be the best football game ever, with yet more motion-captured shots and some pretty unique features, but it only manages to do a few things very well. If you're going to win this one, it's a case of learning those special moves, special shots, and just switching on arcade mode. It's like Street Fighter with a ball. Switch off the referee, and you can tackle as hard as you like, as often as you'd like.
The referee's in danger of losing control of this game.
Power Soccer still hasn't fixed the problem of every player moving the same way, whatever their skill, but it has made switching viewpoints very natural, so you never get confused about where you're going. 5 good soccer games with their own particular qualities. We're still a long way from the excitement of a real match, but maybe that's something we'll never be able to stick on a shiny disc. Not content with trying to take over the gaming world, Sega announced plans at this year's big computer show E3 for an internet connection to their 32-bit games machine, the Saturn. The cartridge simply plugs into the port at the rear of the machine, with the CD drive of the machine holding the software that allows access to the net. All you have to do is connect your Saturn to a telephone line, pay the monthly subscription fee, and away you surf, scanning the World Wide Web and sending emails to all your friends and family throughout the world. Sega aren't the first company to allow internet access through a games machine. Philips tried to help their ailing CDI console by producing a product called CD Online, which worked in much the same way as the Saturn. So what is Sega doing to ensure that this new add-on is a success?
As you see, our company spent a lot of effort making sure the text is very readable on television because it usually flickers a lot if it ain't. And of course, there will be instances that we won't be able to show you all the best possible. So what we do is we give you a nice little magnifying glass.
Sounds great, but don't sell your modems just yet. Saturn on the Net is released in America and Japan first, and Europe is set to follow later in the year. Don't go away, because we're going to power you up and totally immerse you in some brilliant new games. Hands up those of you who would have believed that a mouse named Mickey would become one of the most famous characters in the world. No, not me, but it just keeps on happening. Cute, furry animals becoming more famous than some of today's movie stars. Even Italian plumbers, funked-up earthworms, and squeaky green lemmings have become famous. But hold on, haven't we forgotten someone? A cute, blue, spiky hedgehog. When Sonic the Hedgehog first appeared back in 1991, no one could have guessed what a hit he'd become. After all, this little blue guy helped sell thousands of Mega Drives, and without him, who knows where Sega might be today. Is there a secret to his success? Well, yes, and it's got a lot to do with timing. Sonic, along with Mario, helped put game consoles out of the shops and into living rooms around the world. Everyone wanted a slice of the fun, and with simplistic gameplay on offer, owning Sonic brought them closer to their Mega Drives. In the process, a huge base of faithful Sega fans was born. Disagree? Well, 3.7 million copies of Sonic the Hedgehog ended up being sold. Success spawned sequels, and Sega maximized their company mascot to the point of exhaustion. Expectations for Sonic 2 were always high, so the animation was spiced up a notch or two, and the game was a whole lot bigger than its predecessor. This strange blue hedgehog had finally stamped itself into video gaming culture, and he wasn't about to go away. Sega's next step was to develop spin-offs from the original platform romps. Sonic soon found himself sharing the stage with new characters, new adventures, and finally new gaming platforms like the infamous Mega CD. Now all consoles need a decent game to sell it, and Sonic found himself blasting onto the Mega CD with hi-fi quality sound, spruced up graphics, and souped up gameplay. In fact, it was probably the one and only highlight of this console's brief time in the spotlight. The demand for more Sonic reached fever pitch, with the public's appetite for the blue spiny one at an all-time high. On the Mega Drive, Sonic Spinball and Sonic 3 kept the cash tills ringing, whilst Master System and Game Gear owners grabbed a piece of the action with revamps of Sonic 1 and 2 and new adventures like Sonic Chaos. But this spiky superhero has been missing in action for some time now, with the 16-bit market scaled down to make way for the 32-bit giants. In fact, Sonic and Knuckles was the last Mega Drive game out, and that was in 1994. Meanwhile, the Saturn software policy seems to consist mainly of combat sims and racing games. Well, things are about to change. Sega know full well that Mario's going to steal the limelight once he makes an appearance on the N64. So it's time to fight back. And here's the reply. Sonic 3D, called Sonic Blast in the States, and it's out on the Mega Drive later this year. We'll be bringing you a full preview of this very soon. And if that isn't enough, the British Film Institute have decided to preserve examples of video games in its giant library. This will ensure that tomorrow's historians have an insight into today's popular culture. And their choice of video game to preserve, the one, the only, Mr. Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, here's a chart where you won't find Sonic, the SNES Top 10. At 10 is the intellectual but fun theme park. Moving up the batting order to 9 is Super International Cricket. Speeding into number 8 is Unicycle Racer Unirally. while Boxing Clever at 7 is Super Punch-Out. Climbing slowly up to 6, International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. At 5, doing the brainy work is Super Metroid. Dropping down to 4, it's Mario's dinosaur charm in Yoshi's Island. And swinging around at number 3, it's Donkey Kong Country. At 2, there's no move for combat game Killer Instinct. But still at number 1, it's Donkey Kong Country 2. At the recent E3 Electronic Entertainment Show in Los Angeles, lots of people were claiming to bring us one step closer to virtual reality with all kinds of cool and trendy bits of hardware. One company that's made a name for itself is Virtual.io, whose VR headset is a very affordable gaming add-on. Built into the most comfortable headset I've ever worn are 2 tiny liquid crystal displays that work like a personal TV for each of your eyes. Games new and old suddenly get a very different feel. But hang on, what's this? Fed up with people giving you strange looks as you sit at home with your VR goggles? Why not shut the real world out with a virtual Voyager personal pod?
You sit inside, put on the headset, you have your throttle here for flight simulation, actual flight F-16 flight stick, and you close it up and it totally engulfs you, surrounds you, makes you feel like you're there.
The virtual Voyager is a big improvement on just a headset, but this is what I call being there. It only takes one play with a flight sim running on a $100,000 Silicon Graphics workstation to see how far away PCs and consoles are from true virtual reality environments.
This is where everything's going. You'll be able to do movies, everything. One day probably go to a movie theater, put on a VR headset and watch a movie through it. So it's the future, definitely.
I'm not about to disagree, but couldn't the future have a seat in there for a friend too? Swords, magic, and lots of people getting angry at each other. That's Guardian Heroes, an epic arcade adventure that has Japanese comic style written all over it. Don't you know, you find an ancient sword, swing it around a bit, and discover some not-so-nice characters are after it too. Luckily, your brave friends are here to help. The big question is, who'd want a rusty old weapon anyway? In this fun twist on a very familiar idea, speed and all-out action are everything. As usual, each warrior in the team has his or her own special powers and combat style. But just when you think you're never going to make it, that mysterious sword's owner appears and decides to play on your team. You control the Golden Soldier by thinking out his next set of orders. If you take too long, you're a sitting target, so make sure you think and move fast. If all this seems a bit easy, you can switch to arena mode, where it's you up against your friends and enemies. It's every man, woman and rabbit for themselves. The last one standing, or the one with the most points after a set time, is the winner. It's more exciting than just worrying about one opponent with special effects, grunts and crunches all over the place. In this place, small furry creatures are more dangerous than they look. Oh no, I hear you cry. Not another combat game for the PlayStation. Yeah, but this is a follow-up to one of the best. It's Toshinden 2. All of the original characters have been reworked for the sequel, with new animation, texture mapping and lighting effects. And you've got to admit, they look pretty impressive. And there's even 3 new characters, all with special skills. One of these is Gaia, who could be found in the first game using a cheat. Then there's Tracy, an electrically charged policewoman. And finally Chaos, who's a complete lunatic according to its makers, so either be on his side or don't bother. As far as gameplay goes, well, besides those few extras I mentioned, there's not really much more to it. Saying that, though, the first game was extremely good, and it was an innovation in 3D combat games, but we have come to expect a lot more from sequels. Probably the best thing in its favour are the graphics. Even subtle changes like the backgrounds all add to the overall slick look, but the combat style is almost identical. Everything's just that little bit faster. So, to sum up, Toshinden 2 isn't bad by any means. It's just too similar to the first game, and those few graphical extras just don't make it different enough. If you really enjoyed Toshinden, then it might be worth giving this a go, but don't expect too many changes, because you won't find them. It ain't easy being a tough guy. After all, rushing around, destroying all those monsters in Duke Nukem is no job for the uninitiated. No matter how cool your aim, sometimes you've just got to admit defeat.
Yeah, piece of cake.
But have no fear, because your favourite game show's here, and I've got some nifty cheats to help you on your way. If you want to make it through to the end, you better go grab yourself some pen and paper right now, and before you know it, Duke Nukem will be a lot easier. So are you ready?
Let's rock.
Can I tempt you with a free jetpack to fly across those wide open spaces? Or how about access to all those locked doors?
Come get some.
Well, just type in DNITEMS and Duke's collection of goodies shall be yours. And what about all those weapons I'm supposed to have, I hear you cry? Well, you need to type in DNSTUFF, and as if by magic, you'll be the proud owner of this rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Or how about the Shrinker, which will certainly show those baddies who's in charge. There's loads of other items to choose from, so just take your pick. And just in case you're a bit strapped for cash, try typing in DNCASHMAN. Each time you hit the spacebar, you'll throw loads of money at the screen. It won't make a blind bit of difference to your gameplay, but it's certainly a lot of fun. Just a shame that those baddies don't take cash. That's it for Cheats this week. Don't forget to let us know your favourite game tips. We'll give you the address in just a mo.
Much better.
Well, believe it or not, that's the end of yet another show. So it's time for me to go and get loads of brilliant stuff in for the next one. Until then, I'll leave you with the intro sequence to Guardian Heroes. Don't forget to keep all those letters and emails coming. See you soon.